Welcome to the YouTube channel for my new book, Seed of Israel, DNA Guide to Tracing Your Jewish Ancestry, available on Amazon in eBook and paperback versions. There are links below to order your copies. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button to receive more videos like this. In this video, I'm going to share a new study just released, finding that Philistines migrated from Southern Europe. Now, there were a lot of theories about the origins of the ancient Philistines, who are recorded in the Bible as the enemies of the Israelites. One of them is the Aegean. And this new paper points to possibly Crete as an origin for the Philistines who settled in the southern Levant along the Mediterranean coast. But they need to do more research as far as pinpointing the exact place or places in the southern Mediterranean, southern Europe. After I talk about the Philistines in this new study, I'm going to discuss the shared ancestry and genetic similarity between Samaritans and Jews, particularly on the Y-DNA side, the patrilineal side. And then I'm going to talk about the haplogroups, or at least a couple of the haplogroups on the Y-DNA side for Ashkenazi Jews. Where do they come from? Are they from Europe? Are they from the Middle East? Africa, Asia? I'm going to get into more of the mtDNA side in a future video, but I wanted to discuss the two haplogroups with the greatest frequency in Ashkenazi Jews on the Y-DNA side, which is the patrilineal side. Finally, well, I'm just going to talk about this right now at the beginning of the video, but in the next video, I want to talk about the Radhanites, who were early medieval Jewish merchants. And I want to talk a little bit about their background, where they possibly came from. Were they from Persia? Were they from France? There are some theories about the origins of the Radhanites. Also, in the next video, I want to go into some possible explanations as to why a genetic bottleneck occurred in the Middle Ages that reduced the Ashkenazi Jewish population to just 350 people. There was a genetic study that came out a few years ago that put forward this theory, this hypothesis that there was this genetic bottleneck, and around 600, 800 years ago, and the Ashkenazi population was reduced again to about 350 people. Well, the study and did not go into it, and neither did any of the articles written about the study as to possibly why this genetic bottleneck occurred, or why was the Ashkenazi population so drastically reduced. And I want to explore a couple possible explanations for that, including the Crusader massacres that took place, a series of Crusader massacres of Jews along the Rhineland as the Crusaders made their way to the Holy Land to take on the infidels. Could this be the reason for the genetic bottleneck? The Crusader massacres along the Rhineland? I'm going to explore that in the next video. So let's go into that study that's been making the rounds today. So the Philistines were the enemies of the Israelites as recorded in the Hebrew Bible. But where were the Philistines from? According to this new study, the answer is Southern Europe. The paper is titled Ancient DNA Sheds Light on the Genetic Origins of Early Iron Age Philistines. And it was published in Science Advances. The research took place in Ashkelon, which is along the Mediterranean coast in today, modern-day Israel, southern Israel. It's a city where the Philistines settled, a major Philistine settlement, Ashkelon. The Philistines also settled in Gaza, Ashdod, Gath, G-A-T-H, I don't know if it's Gath or Gath, and Ekron, E-K-R-O-N. A Philistine cemetery was unearthed by researchers. It was the first ever Philistine cemetery that was discovered. This was in Ashkelon. And it dates from the 8th and 11th century BCE. The researchers analyzed DNA samples from 10 ancient Bronze Age and Iron Age individuals in Ashkelon, and the evidence points to a Southern European origin for the Philistines, followed by mixing with local Levantine populations in the southern Levant. The study states, quote, while our modeling suggests a Southern European gene pool as a plausible source, future sampling in regions such as Cyprus, Sardinia, and the Aegean, as well as in the southern Levant, could better resolve this question. There's a link to this study below. Now I want to talk a little bit about the genetic connection between Jews and Samaritans. Jews and Samaritans are genetically similar on the Y-DNA patrilineal side, suggesting a common ancestral source from the ancient Israelites, Hebrews of the Near East. Basically, same source population of Jews and Samaritans, at least patrilineally, and then a split occurred. The mtDNA matrilineal side is more mixed. Now this reflects mixing with non-Semitic populations. Jewish men in the diaspora possibly took local convert wives, or the mixing possibly occurred in the land of Israel, perhaps during Hellenistic times, during the Roman period. There were many populations that could have possibly mixed, intermarried with the local Hebrew Israelite population. Samaritan men possibly took Assyrian wives that were brought into Israel by the Assyrian Empire after the Assyrian conquest of the northern kingdom of Israel. There are two studies confirming the Y-DNA connection between Jews and Samaritans. One of the studies is titled Reconstruction of Patrilineages and Matrilineages of Samaritans and Other Israeli Populations from Y chromosome and mitochondrial DNA sequence variation. That was this study was published in 2004, and there's a link to these studies below. Links to these studies below. And here's an excerpt from that study. Based on the close relationship of the Samaritan haplogroup J, 6 microsatellite haplotypes with a Cohen model haplotype, we speculate that the Samaritan M304 Y chromosome lineages present a subgroup of the original Jewish Kohanim priesthood that did not go into exile when the Assyrians conquered the northern kingdom of Israel in 721 BCE, but married Assyrian and female exiles relocated from other conquered lands, which was a typical Assyrian policy to obliterate national identities. This is in line with biblical texts that emphasize a common heritage of Jews and Samaritans, but also record the negative attitude of Jews towards the Samaritans because of their association with people that were not Jewish. Such a scenario could explain why Samaritan Y chromosome lineages cluster tightly with Jewish Y lineages, while their mitochondrial lineages are closest to Iraqi Jewish and Palestinian mtDNA sequences. Another study that was published in 2013, titled Genetics and the History of the Samaritans, Y chromosomal microsatellites and Genetic Affinity Between Samaritans and Kohanim, also came up with a similar conclusion regarding the Jewish-Samaritan connection. Here's an excerpt from the abstract. The estimation of genetic distances revealed that the Samaritans were closely related to Kohanim. This result supports the position of the Samaritans that they are descendants from the tribes of Israel, dating to before the Assyrian exile in 722 to 720 BCE. In concordance with the previously published single nucleotide polymorphism haplotypes, each Samaritan family, with the exception of the Samaritan Cohen lineage, was observed to carry a distinctive Y chromosome, short tandem repeat, or STR, haplotype that was not more than one mutation removed from the 6-marker Cohen model haplotype. So, based on these two studies, the Y chromosome clearly shows that the Samaritans and the Jews share a common ancestry dating to at least 2,500 years ago. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about Ashkenazi Jewish haplogroups. Again, I'm just going to talk about the two Y-DNA haplogroups with the greatest frequency. In a later video, I'll get to the other haplogroups as well, Y-DNA haplogroups, as well as the mtDNA, matrilineal DNA haplogroups, and some theories about where they might have come from. So, the Middle Eastern origins of Ashkenazi Jews, followed by Southern European and Eastern European admixture events, is confirmed by multiple modern genetic studies and DNA testing. Looking at the Y-DNA and mtDNA with the greatest frequencies among Ashkenazi Jews tells a similar story, with the Y-DNA or patrilineal ancestry more Middle Eastern, while the mtDNA or matrilineal descent is more mixed, reflecting possible non-Semitic populations in the Mediterranean and European diasporas joining the tribe. The website Levite DNA provides the approximate frequencies of Ashkenazi Jewish Y-DNA and mtDNA haplogroups based upon compilation and analysis of a subset of Y-DNA and mtDNA results reported by Family Tree DNA, FTDNA, as of December 20th, 2018. According to the website Levite DNA, Ashkenazi Jews display the greatest frequency of E haplogroups at 21.89% on the Y-DNA side, followed by J2 at 17.83%, J1 at 17.77%, R1b at 11.50%, G at 9.94%, R1a at 9.29%, Q at 4.56%, T 2.87%, I 2.67%, R2 1.27%, L 0.27%, and N, lastly N at 0.12%. The most frequent mtDNA haplogroup on the matrilineal side is K at 32.49%, followed by H at 25.91%, J at 7.9%, N at 6.90%, U at 5.09%, HV at 5.01%, T at 4.34%, V at 3.45%, L at 2.26%, W at 2.18%, I at 1.41%, M at 0.89%, X at 0.64%, A at 0.06%, and B also at 0.06%. But where do these haplogroups originate? Again, are they from Europe? Are they from the Middle East, Africa, Asia? Where are they from? So E, which again is the haplogroup with the greatest frequency on the Y-DNA side of Ashkenazi Jews, possibly originated in East Africa or West Asia, which is the Middle East. West Asia and the Middle East, basically the same. And so the website Upedia states that outside Europe, E1b1b is found at high frequencies in Morocco at over 80%, Somalia 80%, Ethiopia 40% to 80%, Tunisia 70%, Algeria 60%, Egypt 40%, Jordan 25%, Palestine 20%, and Lebanon 17.5%. On the European continent, it has the highest concentration in Kosovo at over 45%, Albania and Montenegro both 27%, Bulgaria at 23%, Macedonia and Greece, both at 21%. Cyprus at 20%. Sicily at 20%. South Italy, 18.5%. Serbia, 18%. Romania, 15%. Then it goes on to say that Ashkenazi Jews have approximately 20% of E1, B1b, which falls mostly under the specific clades of E-M123. Now, the highest frequencies of E-M123 are observed in Jordan at 31% near the Dead Sea, Ethiopia at 5 to 20%, Israel at 10 to 12, well, it says Israel-Palestine, at 10 to 12% among the Palestinians and the Jews, among the Bedouins, 8%, in Lebanon, 5%, in North Africa, 3 to 5%, Anatolia, 3 to 6%, and Southern Europe, particularly Italy, 1 to 8%. In the Spanish region of Extremadura, 4%, and the Balearic Islands of Ibiza and Minorca averages 10%. So the origin, where's the origin of EM123 that is reflected in the Y-DNA of Ashkenazi Jews, that particular subclade? The subclade originated some 19,000 years ago during the last ice age. Its place of origin is uncertain, but it was probably in the Red Sea region, somewhere between the southern Levant and Ethiopia. Its main subclade, EM34, most probably emerged in the Levant about 15,000 years ago. Soon afterwards, M34 split into two branches, M84 and Z841, which were probably found in the Fertile Crescent during the Neolithic period. It is not clear at present whether they expanded beyond the Near East during the Neolithic period, but they might have been part of the Neolithic expansion to North Africa and Iberia alongside haplogroups T1A and or R1b V88. So then, yeah, it goes into just more of the subclades, etc., etc. So, let's see. The K257 and Y4970 branch emerged around 3000 BCE and is found in Iran, Armenia, Turkey, Russia, Greece, Italy, and France, among others. It might be linked to the expansion of the Kura-Araxes culture from the southern Caucasus to Anatolia and Iran. It would then have spread to Greece and Italy alongside haplogroup J2A1 and T1A P77. Y6923 also emerged around 3500 BCE, but became almost extinct. All modern carriers of this lineage descend from a common ancestor who lived only 1200 years ago, and all are Ashkenazi Jews. So the EM34 lineages experienced a much more dramatic expansion during the Chalcolithic Copper Age period. Okay, just goes into specific clades here, and their expansion. I just want to get to the part on Ashkenazi Jews. This is all from the website Upedia. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So, also downstream of CTS 1096, the Y14891 or Z21018 clades are typically found among people of Jewish ancestry, while PF6391 and Z21421 are found in the Levant, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan, and the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, the next two Y-DNA haplogroups with the greatest frequency in Ashkenazi Jews is J1 and J2. The possible place of origin for J is Western Asia or the Middle East. So I'm going to go into a little bit about the J1 first, the Bronze Age expansion of J1-P58. So Kitchen et al. 2009 estimated through a Bayesian phylogenetic analysis that Semitic languages originated in the Levant around 3750 BCE during the early Bronze Age. It evolved into three groups: East Semitic, an extinct branch that had comprised Akkadian; Central Semitic, which gave rise to Aramaic, Ugaritic, Phoenician, Hebrew, and Arabic; and South Semitic, South Arabian and Ethiopian. J1P58, the Central Semitic branch of J1, appears to have expanded from the southern Levant, Israel, Palestine, Jordan, across the Arabian Peninsula during the Bronze Age, from approximately 3500 to 2500 BCE. Camels were domesticated in Somalia and southern Arabia circa 3000 BCE, but did not become widely used in the southern Levant before approximately 1100 BCE. Camels played an important role in the further diffusion of J1-P58 lineages, notably with the Bedouins in the desertic parts of the Middle East and North Africa. Bedouins now make up a substantial proportion of the population of Sudan at 33%, Libya 15%, the United Arab Emirates at 8%, and Saudi Arabia at 5%. The two most common Jewish subclades of J1 downstream of P58 are Z18297 and ZS227. The latter includes the Kohanim haplotype. Most of the other branches under P58 could be described as Semitic, although only FGC12 seems to be genuinely linked to the medieval Arabic expansion from Saudi Arabia. Based on very limited data, the main Lebanese subclades of J1 appear to be J1-Z640 and J1-YSC76. Both subclades have also been found in Sicily, Andalusia, and Portugal, which suggests that they were already found among the Phoenicians. However, since the Arabs conquered the same regions as those colonized by the Phoenicians, it is too early to reach such a conclusion. Subclades found in Sardinia are very useful, as practically all J1-P58 on the island were supposedly brought by the Phoenicians. They include Z18297, which could also be Jewish. So, and then haplogroup J-M267, this subclade, is in modern times most frequent in the Arabian Peninsula. Yemen up to 76%, Saudi up to 64%, Qatar 58%, Dagestan up to 56%. J-M267 is generally frequent among Arab Bedouins, 62%. Ashkenazi Jews at 20%. And then Algeria, 35%, Iraq, 28%, Tunisia up to 31%, Syria up to 30%, Egypt up to 20%, and the Sinai Peninsula. To some extent, the frequency of haplogroup J-M267 collapses at the borders of the Arabic Semitic-speaking territories, with mainly non-Arabic Semitic-speaking territories, such as Turkey at 9%, Iran at 5%, Sunni India Muslims at 2.3%, and Northern India Shia at 11%. So, and then, very important here, important point, it is also highly frequent among Jews, especially the Kohanim line at 46%. And that's according to the Hammer study from 2009. Now, I briefly want to go into J2, and this will end today's video. So J2, outside of the Caucasus, the highest frequencies of J2 are observed in Cyprus at 37%, Crete at 34%, Northern Iraq at 28%, Lebanon at 26%, Turkey at 24%, with peaks of 30% in the Marmara region and in central Anatolia. Greece at 23%, Central Italy 23%, Sicily 23%, South Italy 21.5%, and Albania 19.5%, as well as among Jewish people at 19 to 25%. J2A1-M67 is the most common subclade in the Caucasus. Vaynaks, Ingushes, Chechens, Georgians, Ossetians, Balkars, and in the Levant amongst Lebanese and Jews. It is also common in Western India, the Arabian Peninsula, Anatolia, especially northwest, Greece, especially Crete, Italy, especially Marche and Abruzzo, and Iberia. M67 was probably a major Bronze Age lineage expanding from the Caucasus to Greece to the west and the Indus Valley to the east. J2A1-PF4888 is found in the Middle East, and among Ashkenazi Jews. F659 subclade, Katz and Cohen. And that wraps up today's video. Again, the next video I'm going to discuss the possible origins of the Radonite, Jewish traders, merchants, and I'm also going to go into possible explanations for the genetic bottleneck that occurred in the Middle Ages 600, 800 years ago, when the Ashkenazi Jewish population was reduced to just 350 people. And I'm going to go into the possible origin, which I think could be a possible explanation, which is the Crusader massacres along the Rhineland. But there are other explanations, possibly the bubonic plague, and maybe some other theories out there as to why this genetic bottleneck occurred. And that's it for today. Thanks so much.